The privilege.
Uh, yes, and back at you, sir. And to all of us that get to be with you today, thank you for being on the panel show. Hey, John!
Hello, Pamela. Great to be here. Super excited. How are you doing?
Oh, it is so exciting. Well, everybody, this is John Tallarico. Hello, and welcome back to the Pamela Show, where we learn and we grow together. I am so excited about today's episode and next week's episode. Oh my gosh, my very good friend, my chiropractor, and my health and fitness coach is my guest. Woo! And you guys are going to be so blessed and empowered and encouraged these next 2 weeks. His name, Dr. Terry Drassal. And he has a wealth, a plethora of knowledge in all things related to health and wellness. Are you ready to take off and really go on an awesome roller coaster ride of health and nutrition and wellness? Because you're going to have a great time these next 2 weeks. All right, with no further ado, I'm ready to bring on the doctor. How about you? Hey, Doc, come on in.
Hello and welcome back to the Pamela Show, where we do what? We learn and we grow together. As you already know, we are on location today in studio with my very good friend and chiropractor of 25 years. He has been my health coach, my wellness coach, fitness coach, and someone that I have come to trust in many areas of my life, medically and otherwise. So I am excited that you're here today. Get your paper and your pen because you're going to need it to take notes. It's going to be lots of gold nuggets being dropped everywhere today. My friend and chiropractic care doctor, plus much more, Dr. Terry Drassal is with us today, or we're with him. We're at his office. Thank you, Dr. Terry, for being with us today. And I know I've been excited. We have been looking so forward to this and been planning it for a long, long time. So would you tell us all, who are you?
Well, I'm Dr. Terry Drassal, and I grew up in St. Paul, so I'm a Minnesota native. And quick background on me is how I got involved in chiropractic. Basically, it started when I was in high school. I was playing football, and I got a back injury. And my mom and dad had been seeing a chiropractor for their back, and I thought, well, I don't need any of that kind of stuff. Well, now my back is bad. I can't play the games, and we're halfway through the season, and I wanted to play. So they said, come see our chiropractor. So I went to see the chiropractor, skeptical at first and everything, and he looked it over. He says, okay, here's what's going on. You've got a shift in your pelvis, your back is turned this way, all these different things. Okay. So he ended up fixing me up because I thought my season was over. And he ended up helping my back out. I was able to then play the rest of the season, and it impressed me so much that I started looking into it more. And I was very intrigued by the philosophy of chiropractic,
Sure.
where it was a natural approach to health. It wasn't something where you're relying on drugs or medication or surgery or things like that. It was all natural. You're just basically helping the body heal up faster by providing the chiropractic care. So I decided right then and there I wanted to be a chiropractor. And so this was when I was a junior in high school. So I already knew what I was going to do. And so about a few months after I decided, my older brother, Ron, who was an athlete as well, and he was going to be a Phi Ed teacher was his goal, he said, I think I want to do that too. So we ended up both graduating and going to chiropractic college and getting our degrees, and we opened up practice together. And so that was back in 1983, and so that shows how old I am. But so we practiced for many, many years together, and he's recently retired. But so I've enjoyed being involved in chiropractic, and it's given me many different opportunities, especially some of the certifications. I have some extra training in sports medicine and in athletics, and so I became certified as a personal trainer. And so I found all these things that I thought could help my patients. And so I was competing in bodybuilding and everything. And then, so all these things of working with the body, just it was a natural fit for me to also work with athletics and be personal training, so I could put people on routines and everything. So I just got very, very involved in that. And I was fortunate enough to be able to work at the Olympics and work at some world championship events around the world and everything as a chiropractor. So it's just been a great journey for me at this point, and I just love what I do, and I want to keep doing it as long as I physically can.
And you're really good at what you do.
Well,
And I can
thank you.
say that from experience, everybody. Now, Dr. Terry, you heard that. We are going to talk about the Olympics and bodybuilding and so many other things. We're going to touch on all of that. But we're going to start with some chiropractic tips.
Oh, sure.
Because you have some tips for us. And believe me, if he gives you these tips, you need to use them, because I use them. Whatever he says to do, just do it, because it's going to help you. So go ahead and share your tips that you have
Sure.
with us today.
Yeah. Well, as most people know, especially if they've been to a chiropractor before, they know that we concentrate on the spine. That's one of our main areas, but we also will work on shoulders, knees, hips, ankles, things like that. Well, one of the things that we are seeing now that I never used to see as much before, Pamela, was with everyone now using computers, everyone's on computers, and now the use of smartphones in there, I'm seeing more and more neck problems. And specifically now they've even got a term for it, maybe you've heard of this before, tech neck or text neck. And so what's happening is now, first off, we'll talk about the computers. Everyone's at a computer, most people now working at their office. And this is even more important now because with the pandemic that we've had, people are working from home. So many of them don't have those really good workstations that they had at their office.
Right.
So now they're at a kitchen table, they're using a laptop, their seat is the wrong height, they're either hunched too forward or whatever. So basically what we're talking about with these problems with the neck and this tech neck is people now are hunched over these laptops, over these keyboards, and they're getting into this position now where they're just hunched over like that. It's bringing the shoulders forward and it's bringing our necks forward. So now we've got all this stress. Our shoulders aren't meant to be pulling forward, and our neck isn't meant to be in that position like that too. So what do we see people now doing on their phones? And unfortunately, I see this in a lot of young kids. They're all day, they're on their smartphones, they're doing this kind of thing. And so we're getting, with these kids now, these teenagers are getting this forward poking or tech neck of the head where it's pulling forward like that. So now we're seeing so many more neck injuries, neck problems, tightness in the back. And so after a while, your shoulders are being pulled forward, your neck's being pulled forward. Our muscles go, wait a second, I gotta hold back. And so those start pulling. Well, that just creates more tightness then in the muscles. So it's this constant battle. All of our weight's going forward. Your muscles are saying, no, we're not supposed to do that. So your back of your upper back, that's why people are so tight in their upper and middle back. Let's pull those shoulders back. So it's this constant battle. And so now what's happening is we're getting those heads forward like that, and it's creating all kinds of neck problems, headaches. We're seeing people getting pain that's going down the arm and all those kind of things too. So one of the tips that I wanted to get at was things that people can do, whether they're over a computer all day, whether they just are on their phone all day, is obviously first and foremost, we want to really try to keep our posture upright as much as possible. So when they're at a workstation, try to make sure your chair height and the height of the computer and everything is reasonable. We don't want something that's too low. You do this. We don't want something that's too high, because then we're up like this. I mean, both can create problems that way. So what we want to do is make sure that everything is level and we can adjust ourselves and make sure that we're in the right position like that too. So once we get that down, we're not hunched over, we're doing that. We've got a good workstation too. One of the stretches and exercises and things that I like to do is what I call a neck retraction exercise. Because again, we're getting this forward head poking with all of our use of our computers and smartphones. So what we want to do is basically you're sitting up straight. Think about just gently tucking the chin down a little bit. That's our first position. So it's just tucked down a little bit. And I like to use my fingers as an assist to do this. We're going to just straight retract the head back. We don't want to arch the head back. That's not what I'm talking about. So the fingers will help me get this movement down. And once you do that, then you don't necessarily need to use your fingers, but we're going to push the head back in that position. So if you can picture you're pushing that head back almost like you're giving yourself a double chin, but think of it going straight back. Again, I'm not arching, but I'm just using those muscles that are so tight and they're actually weakened because they're not being able to hold you back. So you're just jutting the chin back, and then you hold that for, say, a count of 5 seconds or 10 seconds or so, and you'll feel a lot of strain up in there.
Yeah, I do. I feel it.
Yeah, because we're not used to that. So those muscles are going, wait a second, I haven't been used like that for so long. So they're going to be a little tender, maybe a little bit stiff and weak when you do that, but they're going to get stronger and they're going to help control that. So again, it's just jutting the chin back. We're not arching the head, just jutting the chin back, holding it like that too. And as you get better with that, you could actually then proceed. Yeah. And you may feel like in the beginning, you just can go back a little bit, but pretty soon you notice that, oh, now I'm going back maybe a few more inches like that. And that's where the fingers can help get you train your neck into doing that. And you could actually take some of those little stretchy bands, put it behind your head, and then just push back. So you got the stretchy bands pulling you forward.
You guys are all doing this, right?
Yeah, and so your head is pushing back. Now we're really strengthening those up, and it makes a huge difference. People's posture is better. They notice less headaches, less tension in the neck. Again, you can pinch nerves when our neck is being forced, so you don't get that arm pain anymore. So that's one of the tips that I say, just that simple exercise alone, along with just watching that your workstation is held up in the right position. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so now I have some of the kids will actually then hold their smartphones up, maybe prop something up so they're looking more straight ahead and not having to tuck down like that too. So like I say, it's something we've seen now more recently just with the advent of all the technology that we have. And it's good in that way, but it's not good in the way that people's postures are doing
many
it.
times a day and how many repetitions of doing
Yeah.
this?
So what I like to have them do is do that at least 10 times. So hold it back like that. And again, it might feel uncomfortable, but hold it back 5 seconds, 10 seconds. If you want to go longer, you certainly can do that. But it's going to be, if you can do that 10 repetitions or so, and you can always do it 2 or 3 times in a day. But it's very good to take that break when you know you have to be on your computer for a while, and take that break. That's a great time. Let the arms relax and then do your neck retraction exercises. So it's really, really good to do that on a regular basis. And you will notice that you'll start to get less stress and strain in that neck. And you're going to have probably, like I say, less headaches and problems with your neck because of that.
It's so simple.
Yeah, exactly, too. A quick tip also, now that was talking about the neck, but now we're going to talk about something with the lower back. And this time of year, where people are starting to rake leaves, or we're going to be into a snow shoveling season. I hate to say that, soon before we know it. But also, one of the things that we want to do is change our posture when we're doing some of these things. So when we talk about, I have a lot of patients that are golfers, and now we're getting into the autumn, so there won't be a whole lot left in the golf season, but I want to give a tip to those golfers that are out there. Actually, I don't know if you know, Minnesota is one of the highest rates of active golfers. Even though we only golf so many times a year because of the weather, we actually have the highest population of active golfers of any state. In the U.S., yeah. And I have a lot of patients that are golfers, and of course, a lot of them come in with back pain. So here's the tip that I give for golfers, and we'll relate this to raking leaves, snow shoveling. But first with golfers, is it okay if I stand up a little bit and do that like that? Yeah. So here's the thing that I tell them. So if you think about, let's just say most golfers maybe are right-handed golfers. So what they're doing is they're typically swinging from right to left. Right to left, that's the big swing. They do bring it back, but all their momentum is really going from my right to my left side like that. So we're getting this constant twist that's going on in the back. So what I tell them to do, and because a lot of them will end up having back pain because they're going, oh man, I'm just, think about it, an 18-hole round, as well as they've gone to the driving range, they've been hitting a ton of balls. So they're constantly doing the same movement from right to left, right to left. So what I tell them to do is when they're on the golf course, maybe every third hole, have your buddies tee off in front of you, grab one of your light irons out of your bag, maybe like 9-iron or so. Now what I want you to do is grab it left-handed and swing the opposite direction. Start doing that and maybe about 10, 15 swings or so like that. Now we're starting to train the body and the back going in a different direction. All round long, you're going one direction, stressing it this way. So I'll just have them use a light iron and just start going back like this. Just start doing it. It'll feel a little awkward because they're not used to swinging left-handed if they're a right-handed golfer, and start doing that. And that really helps to start to maybe remove some of the pain, kind of get your back used to training in a different kind of a manner. So I found that very effective for my golf patients who are doing that. So now we take it from golf and we think about, now we're into the fall season. Some people have to rake leaves and everything. The same thing applies with raking leaves. I got into the pattern, if I was raking leaves, I just was natural. It just would always be, my right hand would be up here and I'd be raking leaves like this. Well, what I tell people to do now is, that's the way you're doing it, switch it around. Now go the other direction. So it's the same thing as doing like with the golf swing. We're changing directions now. We're going from different directions. So every once in a while, just change directions and go back to doing this way as well. So then we get into snow shoveling, the same thing as too. I was fortunate, I had the opportunity, KSTP had called me years ago. They said, we understand, you've done some video of, proper lifting techniques, and they had heard about me. So they had me come and do a segment on snow shoveling. And that was very, very interesting and fun to do, because I went over those same things where, again, we get caught into, if you have a snowblower, that's great. But obviously there's times when some people don't have that and they're going to have to manually shovel. So we do the same thing. We do this. We're going over and over like that. And all of a sudden we're wondering why our back's killing us like that too. So same rule applies. Every so often, after every few shovelfuls, go to the left side. Again, it's going to feel very awkward to do that. But again, we're just trying to balance out our body and our spine so that we can avoid possibly getting an injury. So all those things, from the technique and going, trying to change the positions there, to now we're using, raking leaves, shoveling snow, all those things. We're just trying to avoid injury and balance out the muscles in the body to keep them from hopefully having an injury.
Those are great tips. I hope you wrote all those down, and maybe you're even up practicing them with Dr. Terry. All right. Thank you for those tips. Those were great. All right, we're still here. Are you guys, is this awesome or what? Are you learning a ton today? You better be, because I have learned so much from this man, and I'm learning so much today. Like, there have been new things that you've said, and I've gone, wow, I didn't realize that. Like, that's amazing. Like 95% of the people trying to lose weight, it doesn't work.
Right.
That's a huge number of people trying to get healthy.
Yes.
And feeling unsuccessful at it.
Correct.
Chiropractic care is a big deal when it comes to health and nutrition. And I have learned that over the years by having you and your brother as my doctor.
Right.
I've learned so much about how chiropractic care with a good chiropractor, especially somebody like Dr. Terry, who's got all this other wealth of knowledge in so many ways that can help you. I would, he's not allowed ever to retire. He's not ever allowed to leave. He can't, because I need him. And so do so many others, including you. So I have learned that this is so imperative to our life, that to help us continue to be healthy and grow and be strong. There is so much intricacies with chiropractic care, as I said, especially if you have someone that has some knowledge about health and wellness. So I'd like to take a few minutes, Dr. Terry, and let you communicate to the audience why chiropractic care matters, and what about, you've already said what sets you apart, with all the other knowledge and things that you've had. And we're going to talk about the Olympics, so stay tuned. We're going to talk about bodybuilding, so stay with us. But can you just kind of summarize importance of chiropractic care and how that affects our health
Right.
in general.
Yeah, exactly. It was interesting. A number of years ago, Dr. Sperry won the Nobel Prize for brain health and brain function. And what his determination was is that he said that 90% of the stimulation and nutrition that go up into our brain actually is a result of movement of your spinal column and the
Wow.
nervous system like that.
Wow.
That's huge,
Yeah.
how it affects our brain. And when he used the word movement and the nervous system, that totally talks about almost chiropractic, because what we do as a chiropractor is we are assessing movement in specifically the spinal joints, but also I'm assessing movement of the shoulder if a person has shoulder problems or knee problems or hip or ankle, things like that. But basically, if we're talking about the spine, which houses your spinal cord
Yeah.
and all those nerves and affects the nervous system. So we're talking about movement and how crucial that is. So as a chiropractor, what we do is patients come in, and let's say they come in if it's lower back pain or whatever. So we're going to assess their condition. So it's interesting because I may do things a little bit differently, but let's say Pamela is a new patient. She comes in, she's complaining of lower back pain that she's had, and she wants to get that figured out and worked on and get better. So you'd be probably interested to know that I wouldn't immediately look at your lower back. What I would first have you do, Pamela, is I would have you stand in front of me. I would have you out of your shoes because we need you to be like in socks or in bare feet. And I would assess just looking at your posture. Do you have one hip that's high or whatever? But here's one of the interesting things that I'm seeing on probably maybe even up to close to 50% of some of the people that, especially if they're complaining about lower back pain too, I'm looking at your arches of your feet. I want to see, so if my fingers are facing you, this is like me facing you, here's my toes. What I'm talking about is our arches will tend to collapse on some people. We call that overpronation. So imagine here's my arches and they overpronate like that. I have that happen to me, so I know what it's like. And so that's what I'm looking from the ground up, basically. You came in
Sure.
for lower back pain, but I'm going to first start, I'm going to look at your alignment and structure as we're going up that chain. But also, my main goal is get this patient out of pain as quick as possible. That's my first and foremost thing. We want to get that pain reduced as quick as possible. Secondly, then we want to work on getting the alignment, getting things moving. And that brings me back to what that Nobel Prize winners talked about movement.
Yeah.
And how the spine was so essential for brain health and everything. That's what we specialize. That's what chiropractors are looking for. So when we analyze the spine, here I've got this is at the lumbar spine, we're analyzing, as in your case, let's say you came in with lower back pain, I'm going to check for movement. So I'm going to have you maybe do some different movements, things like that. And when you're then on the table, then I'm going to check, is those spinal joints moving? So as a chiropractor, we are working and checking the spine, and we're finding those areas where, for lack of a better word, stuck. Those joints that just aren't moving as well as they should be. Those are the problematic areas. And so we talk about spinal alignment, and yeah, that's part of it. There will be some shifting, everything, but we really want to talk about the movement. What isn't moving when it should be moving? And think about it. We've got over 120 muscles that go into our spinal column like that. We got the superficial, intermediate,
120.
and we have deep muscles. So we have all these muscles that are connecting into that spinal column. So what happens is once we don't get that movement, when those spinal joints are locked up, they're stuck, they're just not moving,
Yeah.
those muscles that connect into that area have to work that much harder because they're going, okay, this joint is not moving, so let's tighten up, let's pull it, let's try to get it moving. Well, they overdo it and they get tight. So now we have this building process where it started out as a spinal problem. Now the muscles get involved, so they get tight. So they become part of the problems too. So we're assessing that movement. We're assessing the muscle tightness. So we'll work on the muscles as well, do some therapy on that, some muscle work, trigger point therapy. But then we're getting in on those spinal joints, and that's where the chiropractic adjustment goes. You heard of people talking about an adjustment, but basically what it is we're getting a very precise, localized point where we make a contact. And then with the adjustment, it is a little bit of a thrust, and we get some movement back into that spine. Sometimes people hear the click or the pop or things like that. But the goal is we want to restore that normal motion in that joint, because that's what's causing the problem. And sometimes if it gets going long enough, it will start to then pinch the nerve. So as you can see from here on the spine there, we've got, here's your vertebrae, there's the disc. That's our like our little cushions between the vertebrae there and then the other vertebrae there too. And so what we're talking about now is this is the back of your body here. So those spinal joints that are normally supposed to, they can bend forward, they go backwards, they can go rotate side to side and tilt back and forth. They get locked, they get stuck. And so our job is, let's get those unstuck, let's get those joints moving. So that's where the chiropractic care comes in handy. And we start to then restore that natural motion that should be in there. And the patient gets relief, they get pressure off the back, and they get pressure off of nerves if the nerves are being irritated. And so that's part of the process. And so first, get them out of pain as quick as possible. Secondly, then start working on aligning things up, getting the spine moving, getting the joints moving, getting that better, working on the muscles that are sore and tight and things like that. Then what I try to do is when they're ready, I get them on an exercise routine. So we get them out of pain, correct the spine, get those things taken care of. Then I want to show them what they can do on their own to keep themselves healthy. So I want to have it to where I try to get my patients as good as they can, show them what they can do, and then if they need to come in for tune-ups, I'd love to be able to do something like that rather than have somebody have to come in and need a number of treatments. Sure. This will help keep them feeling better for longer. They may not need quite as much chiropractic care. And so if they've got a membership, say, to a gym, and with my background in weight training and bodybuilding, everything, I can tell them exactly what to do at the gym. Oh, you've got access to this machine or that machine. Here's what I want you to do. Oh, by the way, don't do that. And I've had the experience with personal trainers, because some of these people will hire personal trainers. This is my own opinion for what that's worth, but I've seen too many trainers as I'm in my gym doing my workout, watching them do that. And I hate to say it, it seems like everyone is put on the same routine, whether they're 15 years old or they're 70 years old. Everyone gets the same routine and everything, and that can't be that. Everyone's different. You all need different things. And so I like to use my expertise in telling them, okay, here's what's going on. So I've got that advantage of not only being a chiropractor, but also being a bodybuilder and working out in the gym. So I think I have that little bit of extra advantage in showing them what to do correctly and how to prevent this maybe from coming on. Whereas maybe that personal trainer isn't as knowledgeable in anatomy and physiology as maybe I would be like that too, and has the experience that I have. So that's where I feel like my experience in that can really help them in getting their body stronger, getting it more flexible. If they don't have access to a gym, I'll show them things that they can do. Maybe they have exercise equipment at home. Maybe they've got some dumbbells, some hand weights or some things like that. I can show them a routine with that. Or if they have nothing else at all, I can show them things that they can do with body weight exercises or stretches or things like that can help to heal their body back up and everything. So I just feel like the additional knowledge and training that I've had has been a benefit to my patients, because I can show them what to do and what not to do. Because again, there are so many machines and exercises out there that seem like they would be good, but maybe not for that particular person. Someone's got a shoulder problem. I'm going to tell them what they can do on certain shoulder exercises, but I also tell them what machines you got to stay away from. And unfortunately, either people try those on their own, or maybe a trainer just has them do it and they end up hurting themselves. So I just feel like I can give them that extra bit of expertise when it comes to helping them, and even with their diet too. Having been involved in bodybuilding, and with bodybuilding, your goal was to drop weight as quick as possible, drop your fat and everything. Of course, now we're talking about the ChiroThin program is a great way for a weight loss, but just having that background prior to this in how to drop weight and bodybuild helps me to help them also get stronger, get leaner, and avoid injuries, because I've been through every injury in all my careers, being bodybuilding and in going to all the gyms. I probably done everything wrong, in the beginning. I was doing heavy squats, killing my back, deadlifts and things like that, heavy bench presses. And so I learned from my own mistakes, and I learned from my own little injuries way back when, what to do and what not to do. So I like to use my background, my expertise, and my awareness of how to prevent those kind of things, and then impart that knowledge that I have from my own benefit that I've used and impart that to them so that they can hopefully prevent injuries, but yet still work out like they want to, develop the body that they want to. And the ChiroThin program just kind of fit into all of this
Flows right
now
in
with,
there.
with helping with weight loss and everything. So I just am very, very excited when I work with people because I can give them that extra element of not just looking at their back, but saying, hey, let's see what we can do to prevent this from happening or limit, the damage that could happen if you're doing something with it. And you know what, let's maybe talk about something as far as your diet and that kind of thing, because we know that when we are overweight or obese, it affects our back, it affects our hips, it affects joints.
Right.
And again, we've talked about the systemic things that it affects, but obviously musculoskeletal things get directly affected with that. So it's just this whole body component, nutritional and physical and all those things that we try to work with, all for the benefit of the patient. And I love doing it.
Hi, I can't write fast enough to get all the notes that, oh my gosh, there was so much today, wasn't it? This is one of those that you're going to watch and rewatch. Did you know all of that about chiropractic care? I learned a lot today, and I have been with Dr. Terry for over 20 years, and I still learned a lot today. That's the way he is all the time. He's just always teaching you something. I know that you got a lot out of today, and you're going to want to come back next week because you're going to hear all about the Olympics and all about ChiroThin, which is an amazing program that we'll tell you more about next week. But I am a product of that product and was able to lose 30 pounds on it. And it was so simple and so easy. So next week, come on back for part 2 with my doctor and friend and health coach, Dr. Terry Drassal. See you next time on the Pamela Show. Bye.